Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Anthony Monteith from Cup of Chi. I think I'm episode 22, but it's been a few months since we did one. But I've been thinking and agonizing, should I continue the podcast? And then blessings arrive because this chap is a living legend. He is the closest thing you can ever get to China in Europe. So I want to introduce you to you. I've only met him once. It's Salustino Wong. But we met, I had a friend come over to do his thing, and we met Salustino there, and I could tell when he spoke a lot of wisdom. So I'm blessed to have him with us. Thank you for joining us, Salustino. Could you tell our people that are watching this a little bit about yourself, where your journey began, and what you're up to at the moment?
Well, thanks a lot, Anthony, for inviting me to Cup of Chi. I think this is a honor and a very good opportunity to be with you here. My name is Salustino Zaldívar Wong. I was born in Cuba, Havana, 51 years ago. When I was 21, 22 years old, I left the country to China to study Chinese medicine, where I studied my undergraduate studies, my master's degree, and my PhD. Altogether were 13 years. At the university. Then I spent some time around in the hospitals and following some teachers, masters, etc., etc. The journey was amazing. It changed my life. For a little Cuban that I was, I grew up there in China, and that was really something that, I didn't expect in life, in Havana there. It was so different, but it was really amazing. In that journey, I met a lot of very interesting people, I should say, and I met my teachers, especially my teacher of Jing Fang, Professor Wong. And also I met special people of Tuina, my Tai Chi. Also like a lot of the Tai Chi Chuan. And I did a lot of work on that also. So yeah, this is more or less.
It's a big journey. It's a big journey. I'm kind of slightly jealous. I wish that my
don't be.
I guess that it's not always been romantic, and I have friends who have lived in China like 10 years, 13 years, 25 years. And, the struggle is it's not that easy, is it, in the beginning? You do have to make a lot of adjustments. Now, you could say that with any country. I myself have only visited backwards and forwards. I've never had a chance to really immerse myself in that culture. I was exposed to Japanese, Chinese, Korean medicine at a young age. But I want to tell you a story. It's a really interesting one, just to put it in context.
Yeah.
We are a similar age, give or take a few months. And when I was about 11 years, 12 years old, we start secondary school. And I used to receive handwritten and typed newsletters from my godparents who had moved to China in 1980. Oh. And China was going through that shift a little bit because there'd been the death of Mao Zedong, and then moving into the next phase. And then they weren't quite sure where they were going to go. It was almost like for 2 years, there was this element of freedom, and people used to like smoke cigars and listen to jazz. And it was kind of a crazy time for about a year in China. And they were living there in Beijing. He was working with the railroads, demonstrating what was possible with diesel engines and things like that. And they lived there for 5 years. And they used to send these newsletters. And I'm going to try and find them at some point before we meet again to share with you some of the stories. But it was like, when you read something and then you visualize how China is, and you have this vision of like minus 30 degrees in winter, and kids have a slit down their bum so they can squat to do a poo, and and all this kind of stuff, and riding bicycles everywhere, and eating, like hanging up their cabbage on a washing line to dry it out.
Yes.
All these things that happened. Eating rats. They had to breed a rat breeding program. All this kind of stuff. And you think, wow, what a completely different but fascinating culture. And then they sent me a little Chinese newsletter about this big, and it was a cultural production. I wish I could find it. It's a little book, and it was a book about wushu, and in it was a character or a young boy called Li Lianji, and that turned out to be Jet Li, I believe. And it was pictures of him, like, 10 years old, 12 years old, doing his moves. And I was like, wow. Then I went into the martial arts. For me, it was limited. We only had access to kickboxing or Korean martial arts. Later on, I discovered Kung Fu through a friend, Lao Gar Kung Fu, and he is now a famous film star. He's been in Ip Man 4, and we were friends. I don't think he'll remember me anymore. But it's really interesting how I was drawn to China. And when I first went, I brought my wife, and we were sat at the back of the bus coming off the plane. And she elbowed me and she said, "You're not excited. Come on, you're in China. You've always wanted to be here." And I went, "No, I'm not excited," because I knew I was coming from the age of 11. So it was going to happen. I felt that draw to the country. And I only got lost once in the country, and it was stressful. But I really enjoyed being there. I enjoyed the people. And I think people don't understand how different people are in China compared to when some of them migrate and go to other countries. I feel like there are different kind of, maybe that's just my own reflection of where I was, but I found them to be a lot more open than I expected, and shared quite a lot. Once you put the effort in, once you show dedication, did you find any struggles in your learning? Were there any things that you had to overcome, language barriers, things like that?
Yeah, I think that, I first should say that Chinese people in 1995 is way different from Chinese in 2023. So at that time, in 1995, that was the year that I went there, people were so open and so gentle. They were very gentle. Chinese are very gentle people, and they were very friendly, and it was amazing how they received me. At that time, economically for me, it was very hard because coming from Cuba, I didn't have any money from my country, so it was really hard in the start. But knowing the right people there, the Chinese people, they helped me a lot. And if you really embrace their culture, they are very open. Normally, most of the foreigners that go there, for them it's very difficult to enter the culture, and what they do a lot of resistance. So they live normally in a bubble. I call the international bubble. Yeah? So they live inside the bubble, and they know each other, and they speak in English, and they don't really penetrate the Chinese culture, which for martial artists is to train every day and to be there for your shifu, and to be humble and to helping anything. This is part of the Chinese culture, and how to get into to get the respect that you deserve for your work. So in Chinese medicine is follow your teacher. Just pour the cup of tea, for your teacher. Bring his suitcase, follow him everywhere, hold the trial of needles, respecting. So they will respect you if you really are devoted to your art. Language can be a barrier. Of course, language can be a barrier if you want to participate in the whole culture, because everything in China is based on the characters, and let's say that the culture is around those characters and the language. So
those characters behind you are much older, though, aren't they?
Yeah. They are called Chuangshu. They are the oldest one. The one that the seal inscriptions that you use in the seals. Yes.
Show you, I don't know if you probably can't see it, but
yeah. These are from the seal.
It's a talisman.
Yeah. If you are into all of that and you can cross that language barrier, you can penetrate. But it's all with the hard work, with being humble, with being friendly, respect the art. I think that this is very important.
Yeah, interesting. And like, this is where I'm going to be a little bit controversial. I know you like a bit of controversy. all my friends that have lived there, and some of them have gone back to their native countries in Europe and other places, back to America. And this is just my own personal interpretation. I feel that they come back almost with this idea. I don't sense this with you at all, but they come back with kind of feeling superior, like, nobody in America or nobody in Ireland or UK is a true Chinese medicine doctor. I am, because I've done 12 years, and they're kind of swanning around. But deep down, when I interview them and talk to them, they're like, yeah, after 12 years, I still feel like I'm not getting the results that I truly deserve. And I feel, and this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I obviously have not been on that journey. But the impression I get is that TCM is still very limited. I mean, it's a good panacea if you want to treat millions of people. It's like a paracetamol for everybody or Nurofen for everybody. And that repeated sort of coming in every 2 days, the same points, is kind of the impression that I got. And then as I went through the medicine over sort of 20 odd years, I realized there were these shining stars within TCM that were kind of, everybody went to this doctor, he's the best one, and this guy's better at Tweenar, and this guy's better at herbal medicine. And when I'd sit down with them, and obviously my Chinese is very bad, but I'm very good at reading people, and I'd look at them and go, they're not doing TCM. They're hiding in the TCM corridor, but really they're doing some other system that I've never seen before. And that's why they're getting better results.
Yeah, it's true that that people, when come back to the West, most of the people that have been there for even 3 months, I know people that, I was in China for 20 years, so I saw many people coming and back. And then I met them in Europe. So many people, they think that, especially in Chinese medicine, that they got everything. I went there 3 months or 1 year or 3 years or 5. I got everything, so I know most of the things, or I know more than the common people that study here in Europe. And this is completely wrong. And feeling superior, I think, is completely wrong, and there is a lot of them that feel superior, especially also in martial arts.
Yes.
But I have very good friends that don't know Chinese, that haven't been in China that so many years, and they are amazing doctors, amazing martial artists.
Yes.
And I don't think that, it's just, I think that it's not where you were. It's about who you are and how devoted you are, And of course, there is a little bit of, you knock on the right door, You open the right door and you met the right teacher, That is very important. In China, that is very important. And everywhere, I think that is very important, to have a lineage, or to have the right education. This is very important. And the right education is not the TCM University in China. That is the worst thing in education that you can have.
Right. Here's a question for you. Do you think that some people get overly caught up in lineage? They get like, unless you're in this lineage, you're not worth anything. You have to honor the lineage. Well, I'm not saying don't disrespect your ancestors. We always, as practitioners, like, we are standing on the shoulder of giants, is a famous Irish saying. Every day I state my gratitude. Every day I have a gratitude meditation. I say, thank goodness I got injured at 24, and that injury led me to Chinese medicine. And without that injury, or that fascination in Oriental culture anyway, and that on top, it was a lightning bolt. You now have to go in this direction. Albeit I was already treating people as a massage therapist, sports injuries and osteopathy. But I think that there are some people that I do find this. maybe they have a frustration because they can't go deeper into the lineage, or maybe their teacher is holding back for whatever reason, and then they just kind of go, lineage is not that important. It's, but really we should still honor that. Like, if you are dedicating yourself like you have your life to Jing Fang, then you need to be able to say thank you for the creation of this. Do you understand? I think
yes.
When we honor lineage, we're not honoring it and saying it's absolute, but we're honoring it as a form of gratitude and respect for all the hard work that the previous people have done.
Well, normally, whatever you study in China, medicine, calligraphy, martial arts, philosophy, whatever, the teaching is master disciple. It's a relation, and when you do that, there is a lineage. There should be a lineage. So yes, I'm defending the lineage thing, but you belonging to that lineage doesn't mean that you are good or that you deserve to be in that lineage.
I get you.
And I will explain that. A teacher, a master, have 20 students, but not all of them are good, because some are more devoted to the art than the others. And again, this is a question of how devoted you are, how you respect that. I think that is more important than the lineage per se. And at the same time, if you are like that, then you are respecting your lineage, and you deserve to be in that lineage. And that happened in any art in China, I think. So there is two things: the lineage, because this is something that you receive, but at the same time, how devoted you are to that art. And when you have a master, there are different kind of disciples. I'm sure that you know. There is a normal student, then the student that can come to the home, and then the student that can come inside the room, measure this and so on, And this is a very important thing also, because the teacher knows who are the most devoted, into the art, and so he will open more to some students. So I think that this is important. That doesn't mean that if you are devoted and you really are hardworking, you can also attain some kind of level, for sure. I think it's okay.
That's an excellent answer. What I noticed as well, and I've been guilty of this also, is rightly or wrongly, I was adamant to take on interns, and I've been doing that since about 2006, and more readily since 2010. And you're correct. People who come to train with you, and initially they're super enthusiastic, they're really into it, they're there like every day, and then you start to see their character unravel a little bit, and the truth starts to come out. And I think in some ways, like what I've witnessed in China, not in a bad way, because they are generally gentle people, is they almost kind of let the person hang themselves. It's like, I remember I used to get disciplined a lot in the tween eye department. My hand technique not good. Get this right. Move your wrist this way. And my teacher used to say, that's a good thing. It means they care. It means they care. If they keep disciplining you and changing your arm position, they like you.
Yeah.
When they ignore you, they don't want any more to do with you. And what I noticed over time was that the troublesome students that I had, the troublemakers, I just stopped feeding them information. And eventually it's like, you're not wasting your energy with them. You're not like dismissing them and kicking them out. You're allowing them to just leave of their own accord. Like, they have to leave the nest and go and make their own mistakes. But I do like that idea. And I know for yourself, you've been pushing in Europe to get Jing Fang going. And I think it's important for the people watching this to understand the fundamental differences between regular TCM herbalism and this particular lineage, because I do know a few people who use it, and they've kind of tried to modify it and use it for fertility and things like that, and create new products from it. But could you explain the fundamentals, obviously without too many complicated ideas, but essentially why you found it, how it's helped you, and what kind of results have you been getting with it?
Well, normally we come to Chinese medicine because we think that this is an ancient medicine. No? But the result is that people who get in the mainstream of studies, which is the university or the schools around the world, what they receive is what we call the TCM, you know, and that was an idea, a complex idea that was built in the 50s in the last century, and that was necessary to put many schools of thought together, because in China before that they didn't have a real university or a standard school in the whole country, so they standardized the teaching. But when they did that in a very short amount of time, that system wasn't perfect, and that system wasn't based on clinic. So it was more like a theoretical body. That theoretical body have a lot of products that I won't go into that now. But around the university or outside of the university coexist the different school of thought. Still, still there are teachers that it come from what we call a lineage. And one of the lineage always was, and it's maybe the oldest one, is the Jing Fang. And this goes back to 1,800 years ago, during Han Dynasty, where at that time were compiled, and not written, they were compiled books that were the classics, what we call the classics, or the canon, or whatever. Which were the Huang Tinei, the Yellow Emperor book, internal canon, the Shendong Pensao Jing, which is the Divine Agriculture Pharmacopoeia, and the Shanghan Lun, Shanghan or Shanghan Zapin Lun, Mai Jing, Nanjing, and there are others, classics. But the one that was the Shendong Pensao Jing, the Pharmacopoeia, and the Shanghan Lun, which is the Jing Fang stream, we could say like that. This is the only one that really was keeping alive in time. This is the only one that really. Now there is this Japanese school of acupuncture that take the Nanjing as the classic. But this is something that in time we cannot see the link between the Han Dynasty and this Japanese school in time. But from Han Dynasty, we can see very consistently in all dynasties how they wrote about the Shanghan Lun and the formulas that they were in the Shanghan Lun or in the Han Dynasty. So this is the base of all our let's say the use of the formulas of or herbs. So if you don't study that, you don't know why this formula is like that. So to study the structure of the formula, to study the different modification of the formula, you have to be expert in that Jing Fang. If not, you're just giving aspirin or Venurum or whatever. This is what you are giving to people. So this is why it's so important, because you are going back to the origin. You are studying the root of the medicine. And this is the only real ancient school that have been for 1,800 years, 1,800 years. So like that. You can see in the different doctors, in the lineage, that they wrote about the clinical cases using those formulas. So you can study all.
Right. So it seems to me there's a lot more consistency over a longer period. Like in some of the Chinese medicine studied, they kind of jump and then make a leap, and then they make a leap.
Yeah.
Dismiss everything that came before. Now this is the way to do it. But what you seem to be telling me is it's close to 1800 years of consistent results.
And if you go to the other method of doing internal medicine or Chinese herbs, they are not so consistent. So they are school of the center of the Li Tong Yuan, the Pi Wei Lun, the stomach and the spleen school. There is the school of Zhu Dan Xi. There are different schools.
Yes,
they are very good schools. Okay, but they are not so consistent as the Jing Fang school, the Shanghai school, which is also, they are not so old as that. And all of those schools are based on Jing Fang. You can see there that they are based on Jing Fang.
So for myself as well, so
Yes.
I understand, because I'm now learning from you, is Shanghan Lun is that, I believe, is the treatise or the treaty on cold damage. Is that correct?
Yeah, you could translate that, but
no, it's not accurate.
Yeah.
In my American style translation.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
But the Jing Fang then is a school of the Shanghan Lun, or is it a lineage of Shanghan Lun?
Yeah, we call Jing Fang to the formulas that were written in the Shanghan Ping Lun, which is the original book.
All right,
Yes.
Just so that I am learning, I have to learn.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, let's be honest. I can tell you now, the level of exposure to herbal medicine, I had to go and find my own system. I ended up studying with Master Guo. It's a body space medicine, which is a modern 1997, a modern version of he created from TCM, and it's a fantastic system, and I love it. And my students love it because they can get a handle on the herbs very quickly. I'm not saying it's superior to any other system, but I think it's a great way of finding out why the herbs work. So we have this 1800-year history, consistent knowledge. We have this extraction of how the herbs work. So did you notice when you started learning this, and you'd obviously already spent time as a doctor working over there, and you started learning this, was it a sudden leap in results? Did you go, wow, now we're really getting way better results, or faster, or there was just more clarity? What was it?
The first thing is that when we study in TCM the herbs, we have to study like 500 formulas, which is crazy, you know, and they don't relate to each other. They are classified as, for example, transforming phlegm or releasing the stereo. This is the way of classifying it, and they don't have any relation one with other, because these are many school of thought all together. So they don't have a relation between them, and that is very difficult. You will never really understand the formulas if you study like that. Then the first thing, when I met my teacher in 1998, and I became his disciple in 2001. I started to study with him, and the first thing that opened to me was, wow, now I understand this formula, and that formula is coming from this formula. Oh, okay, now I understand. This is the main thing that you can do. So then when you relate, more or less, oh, I can use this for that because the origin is here. So this is very important, to know the structure of the formula, to know the origin of the formula. This is really amazing. Then the name of Shanghan, is related to at that time in Han Dynasty, the fire element, the fire movement was the most important, because we have light because of our fire, the fire of life, no? So anything that was opposite to that was the yin part, the cold, it will be a damage. You understand? So
I get you. So it's the fire spirit, the spirit of the fire element that keeps us vital. Are you there? No. Sorry.
Are you there?
Sorry, I lost you for a moment. I think it was my VPN. Can you go again? You were like, yeah, let's go.
So yes, the fire is this vitality, is the main thing. We function because we have that fire. So anything opposite to that, which is the cold, the north, the darkness, that is related to death, So the cold is what damage our fire. Is what consume our fire. Anything that consume our fire increase the cold and the damage in our body. Okay.
Yeah. So, controversy. Are you ready?
Yes.
What do you think? Why are people doing this Wim Hof and then doing cold plunges and jumping in the cold sea? Are they not damaging their fire? Or do you think there's a constitutional thing that we have to consider, that not everyone...
There are different things that we have to consider. First, the Constitution. The second thing is that there is something that is called hormesis, which is what he's doing, Wim Hof. So by hormesis is an adapting process of the body. So if you expose your body to extreme conditions, he will try to adapt. So by you exposing him to the cold, then mitochondria will produce more ATP, and then you will produce more energy. This is more or less what is behind that. But in Chinese medicine, I think that that when you expose the body to cold, and you, of course, Wim Hof, he do a preparation for that, the breathing preparation, and that part is very important, I think, because when you do the breathing, then you're moving your yang, and you it's the metal of the lung, that the one that make the fire descend, which is the movement of that the fire should do. When you expose the body to cold, the fire also will go inside. He will go inside to protect himself.
Yeah.
And from that point of view, it could be good. It could be good.
But is it a short-term solution, or do you think some people can long-term help?
But we don't know in the long term. We still don't know what will happen to those people. Yeah. And I go to Estonia to work, where the water is very cold in the shower, So I try in my head, in the arms, but I never would put cold water on my waist, on the kidneys part. This is the only place that I won't do it. And I think that comes from our protect, the fire that is there, protect your kidneys, it shouldn't be exposed to the cold. And but I don't know in the long run what could happen to those people that expose them to long time in the cold, Okay. This I don't know.
We don't know yet, and I agree.
Yeah, we don't know.
That. It's like it's become almost a fashion, and I have nothing against it, because I think people, at least during that strange COVID lockdown, people were finding solutions, right? I mean, I was treating a young chap yesterday, and he said, before COVID, every weekend in the pub, drinking beer, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and now he goes out into nature with the same friends. They swim in nature. They take hot showers, cold showers, saunas. They go mountain biking, and that now is their weekend. And he said it literally was. It took that 2 years for them to realize, it's almost like being in isolation forced them to really go in and look at themselves. So I think there's been a lot of good stuff. Obviously everything's in balance all the time. We just don't recognize it, right? Yeah. So initially all the filters are on the bad, but it's forcing people internally to look at themselves and transform. and there are those unfortunate people who couldn't do that for whatever reasons. But I was always a little bit more wary of the cold water immersion. Now, that could be because I was born in South Africa, although the water in South Africa is actually quite cold to see. But I always felt like I like to be in some ambient warmth. It's now the sun is shining today in Ireland, and I feel way happier. My mood is elevated. Yes. The yang is rising. Yes. Interestingly, I don't know if you know anything about this. I'm sure you do. One of my tweener students is studying stems and branches. Mm-hmm. And she did like a chart on me, which I can share later on. You can have a look at it. And she said the elements that are empty in the chart, I'm not saying that they're not there, but just according to that birth time or whatever, is the heart and the pericardium. So for me, that's kind of, now she said it's not an issue, it's just something you have to work with. And it explains a lot for me, because I'm always pushing to wear my heart on my sleeve, be authentic. It's like I am trying very hard to fill in that deficiency, whatever that is. I've been very yang most of my life, liked a good fight, and ended up suffering with a lot of migraines, headaches, because the
yang
rising. And when I was last in China, I met a herbalist. I was introduced to a herbalist. And he said, "How long are you going to be in China?" And I said, "Well, I can only be here for a few weeks." And he says, "I really need you to be here for 3 months because I can't fix you." But, I was like, "I'm sorry, I can't stay. I have family and things to do." And he said, "Okay, I'll do the best that I can in these few weeks." And I ended up drinking, I think it was around 20 liters of a herbal decoction. Now, because I was staying in an accommodation where there was no facilities, I asked them to prep it and cook it for me. And I went to the pharmacy, and they looked at me like I was crazy, because when they lifted up, 20 liters is 20 kgs, right, or more, 30 kgs of herbs in liquid. I had my backpack, and I filled up this rucksack, and I walk around Hangzhou with this rucksack, and every so often drink, but it tasted absolutely disgusting. Well, I have to say, and I know I'm not very proud of this, but it reminded me of when I was a very young man trying to impress my friends, and we'd do these kind of stupid drinking games. And a friend of mine poured ash from an ashtray into my drink and made me drink, and it tasted like tobacco. Later on, I got it translated, and a friend of mine said, "You really don't want to know what's in it." But I tell you what, for 9 months afterwards, I felt fantastic, and my migraines lessened, like really reduced a lot.
Very good.
And scorpion, I think, was one of the ingredients. But it was obviously a blood cleanser, can you think about what a scorpion can do? And obviously clearing out the gallbladder and the liver and things like that. And then later on, it was through Qigong that I managed to work, and I maybe get one migraine a year now, but I was getting them like every day. And I said to my Qigong instructor, I said, "Teacher, can you heal me? Fix me, teacher." And he went, "No, not going to do that. Why would I do that? Go home, train. Come back to me in 2 years if you're not better." As if to say, like, you have to take responsibility. You can't all just be, if he did that, his life would be gone, because there'd be like a 5-mile queue of people outside his door wanting to be healed. And he said the best thing you can do is teach people to heal
take care of themselves. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the ultimate healing is the healing that you do to yourself. So this is why the self-cultivation is very important.
Yeah. I know that you're a practitioner of Neigong and Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Did you follow, because I don't know if you're noticing this, there's a lot of Westerners, I'm going to say Western style people they're really now showcasing their ability at a very high level. I think we're going through an acupuncture revolution lately. We now seem to be, with your help, going through a herbal revolution, although I think herbal revolution takes a bit longer because it requires, I have a feeling there's, with acupuncture, if you already have an acupuncture skill, it's just about reframing how you do it. I think with herbalism, it's really understanding the spirit of the plant and its energetic properties and how it can interact and why it interacts that way. But I'm noticing also, particularly in the Tai Chi Chuan world, or even the internal world, where now I think it's necessary. There's a flourishing of Western practitioners really coming out. One of the guys I follow is a Dutch guy, fantastic, lovely guy, works with kids with ADHD and stuff. And did you feel naturally that Tai Chi was a way for self-nourishment, or were you already interested in doing martial arts, or how did you stumble into that, if you like?
Well, what got me into Tai Chi was my health, because what made me go to China to study Chinese medicine was that I couldn't move because I was asthmatic. I couldn't even do the stairs or walk a little bit fast. I would have like asthma. So this is the reason I went to China, because I wanted to cure myself. I wanted to learn something to cure myself. I thought at that time that was acupuncture. But then I met that teacher that told me you cannot run, so better you do some more soft exercise. What was soft was really very hard because it was chain style Tai Chi.
Okay. Okay.
So with very low stances.
Right.
But it wasn't running. It was low stancing to move, and I started to do that Tai Chi. For me, was like a ritual that I will do every morning with the teacher, and every afternoon after classes, I will go to him. It was an amazing experience. And one day in 1999, I just saw a bus, and I ran to the bus. And then I got up into the bus. I paid, and wait, there is something different here. And I realized that I wasn't wheezing. That run was impossible for me. Wow, this is wonderful. That very year in summer, I went to a match, to a competition in Jiangsu, the province, and I got the second place.
Wow.
And for me, it was like really, because I wasn't very sporty, because I couldn't do anything. I just could do maybe chess or something like that, because I couldn't swim, I couldn't run, I couldn't do anything. And in Cuba is a very sporty country.
Yes.
We have a very good sport in Cuba. So I felt all my life as a kid like really depressed because I couldn't run, I couldn't do anything. So for the first time in my life, I was like, wow, I can do this sport. So I also devote myself to Tai Chi, to my Chen Tai Chi. And it has been an amazing journey. I really, for all my patients, when they ask me, what should I do? I always say to Tai Chi. Tai Chi is the best. Tai Chi is really very good.
Yeah. I have to say, I had one student who was doing Yang style, and he was showing me, he was teaching me some of it, but I never got really, I was never really hugely drawn to Tai Chi. I don't know why. I was drawn to Qigong, Neigong, and it's super interesting. For me, I found the biggest thing was for my emotional health. Personally, I was very fit as a young guy. I trained a lot, hard style, like you, hard style martial arts and things. And then as I've got older, I've become not as fit, not as cardio, but I do enjoy walking, hiking. I do notice my body isn't as toned. It's not as, and things like that. But when I generate power, I'm like, wow, I wish I had that when I was 19. But I think I think it would have been a good thing not to have it also, because it would have been like overused and then burn out. I would love to also talk a little bit about what you plan to do over the next while. I know you have been teaching online. We are looking at some stage to get you back to Ireland so that we can gather herbalists around the room and try to get them to think about things from a different perspective. And as you say, from a perspective that actually carries a lot of weight. It's not like some new age type of herbal medicine. This is something that has been preserved, written down and preserved. So what would be your plans for, say, the next 2 years, 3 years with this medicine? What would you like to see?
Well, we in 2016 we found the Jing Fang Classics Institute, which is a branch of the Jing Fang department in our university. I'm a visiting professor of that department in China, and I represent in some way. I don't like to use that represent that word. I'm just an ambassador of my teacher, you know.
Yes.
An ambassador of my teacher, and I have been spreading the word here in the Latin world, no, especially in Portuguese, in Spanish, in Italian, in French. We have been, cover all those. And then I went to Tallinn because I have a friend from China that he invited me to go there and have a huge group there of Jing Fanners now. And then we went into the English market, and then we started to do some speech webinars, just to let people know that we exist and that there is this wonderful system that is Jing Fang. So then we decide last year, we have to do a course also in English. I think that is worth. So our course is a 2 years course online, which is very. I think that it's not that heavy to do because it's online, 2 hours each time, and in 2 hours we give not so much things so that you can study, because the most important is not to study a lot of things. Study the most important thing, and that you can remember that, and then you can study by yourself the rest. So in these 2 years, we meet twice for 3 days, and in these 3 days, what we do is just to practice the clinical skills, which is palpation, abdominal palpation, which is very important in Jing Fang, pulse palpation, which is very important in Jing Fang, observation also. In our system, we have a system that we respect the constitution. So by looking at the people, we know which kind of constitution you have according to the herbs. So we have a cinnamon constitution, for example. We have a Dankui constitution, for example. Different constitution. And this is what we practice. We do face observation, tongue observation, and so on. We see patients on those 3 days. And the most important also, we drink the herbs. So everyone has to drink the herbs. So that's those disgusting herbs that you were saying. So everyone, because if you don't drink them, then you will never know what the patient will feel, So I think that is an amazing experience. Everyone that have go through the course really enjoy it. There is people that repeat the course twice, 3 times. Because it's really interesting. And we have been growing as a community. And then after the course, normally we go to China. Those people that finish, we go to China, we stay with the teachers and the students there in the institute. And that is also a beautiful journey, because when you arrive there, you can understand everything, because we teach with the names in Chinese. So when the teachers say Wichidan or Shenqi Wan, you are there. Oh yeah. And what we add Tangui, we add Shanti, we add Pansi. You all understand. So the students are there that's so happy that they can understand what the teacher is saying.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing journey. And it confirmed when you go there, it confirmed that you studied the right thing, you know. And then you see the good results. It changed the clinic for many people. You know, it changed the clinic for many people.
Yeah, awesome. I like the herbs that I teach. I make the students taste, you know, and ours is based solely on the tongue and urine and feces, so the movement of urine and stools. But I make them taste, and then they taste, and they can feel part of the tongue activated, and then you know, oh yeah, I'm going to the right organ, or I'm going to what's called the Longjuan, or there's a kind of thing. So it's an interesting way of doing it. And then in terms of like, I'm aware also that you practice acupuncture, and I know we've met each other before. Is that, and I know we've not had a full discussion about this, but you do enjoy using kind of a Japanese style, which actually really probably is rooted in China, isn't it? Because a lot of the Japanese style acupuncture really is a snapshot in time of the thought processes that we're being transmitted. And so I know we talked about some kind of Miko style acupuncture, and can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I really like Japanese acupuncture in general, and especially Kiko style. Kiko style is, I think, is really very good with very good clinical results. And what I liked of the styles, like for example, Kan acupuncture also, or tongue acupuncture, is the simplicity. Things have to be simple and without many theory around. You know, if you put too many theory, then this is not the real acupuncture. So acupuncture should be simple and should be based on palpation also. You have to palpate. You know. So Kiko Matsumoto have a lot of palpation, and I think have amazing clinical results. Yes, and it's easy to learn also.
I recently last year made friends with a chap called Slate Burris, and Slate wrote a book called Neoclassical Acupuncture, and he said he pretty much spent 4 years at college in America, bored, totally bored and daydreaming, and every single moment that he could get over those 4 years is he'd sit in the library and read Kiko's work. He was totally and utterly in love with her, in love with her work, thought she was mad but super cool, and he escaped off eventually to Mexico, met his wife, and through doing consistently this style mixed with tongue, he has created his own system after treating 40 or 50,000 of the natives. And he said, in Mexico, they don't have money. You know, there's no, he didn't do it for money. But it's a very interesting. I definitely recommend having a look at that. The theory probably correlates very closely. A lot of abdominal palpation, and confirmation. So the same as people like put the needle in, feel, is that better? Yeah, that's better. Okay, well, it's done. And I'd be super fascinated to learn a little bit more about that myself. So let's try and set that up in Ireland. And I'm going to invite people that are listening to this who are interested in that style. It's not necessarily purely Kiko, but to learn an approach that she has set down. We can arrange for that. Obviously, in Ireland, people like their bank holidays and they like their holidays and time with the kids. So it's all about timing to get that done. It is a busy year. So we'll have a conversation offline about that.
Yes.
And also, I'd be absolutely fascinated if you could at some point take a look at this very weird, though it's not showing itself today. You can't really see it, but I have this weird skin thing that's appearing in the liver gallbladder region here, on the pericardium region.
It's like a rash?
Yeah, it's like a rash. I thought it was like from the cat or the dog. It's been maybe here for, I'm going to say, a year, and it comes and goes. So maybe you could take a look and do a diagnosis, and we can test Jing Fang and report back to everyone. I can give you the details. I thought it was maybe emotional because I was worried about my son and his life.
Maybe this we call that a flaring, fire flaring. So normally when you have this emotional, it's correlate to an emotional feeling. So and it flares up. This is mostly it's a Shaoyan disease.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
it's not anywhere here. Like there's nothing here. It's literally like you could say here. The back where the liver is here, the ribs, and then literally on the pericardium channel, more on the left where the actual heart is. It's really, it's not itchy. It's weird. I know it's there.
So
I mean, my body space herbs didn't get it, so maybe Jing Fang can do something with that.
So if your pulse is wiry, which is then it confirms that it's maybe the Shaoyan, and then Xiao Chai Hudan, that formula would be the best in that case. So, but for me, it's very difficult without going and palpating the abdomen, palpating the pulse.
Hopefully, we get to meet and maybe.
Yeah.
Is there a case like with Jing Fang? I noticed this with some of the more classical herbs. Is you've really got to keep monitoring and adjusting the formula slightly. It's the same with body space. Every 10 days, I adjust.
Adjust. Absolutely. We very, very few times we do like they do in the West, that they give herbs and then eat this for a month or 2 months or 3 months. Very few times we do that. We always have to see the patient, palpate the pulse, palpate the abdomen, and there has to be some changes. Then we change the formula. Yes, and this is something that Chinese medicine can do very well. Chinese medicine can feel those changes, very, very, very slight. Yes.
Okay, so I'm aware we're coming to the end of the podcast. Is there anything else you want to talk about, you want to share with the people watching? Any messages you want to give to?
Well, yes. I would like to tell people that if you really want to study and be devoted to an art, spend time in your art. Chinese medicine is a beautiful art that needs to be nurtured, and you nurture that art going into going very deep in it. Normally, what the people do in the West, sadly, is to go to many different schools, different people, and they don't spend time in one teacher, So nowadays, to study one technique for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, this is almost impossible. No people want to do that. No people want to devote themselves to that. So what people do is they go just for a weekend and that's it. They think that they bring something home. So this is my advice. Devote yourself to something, to an art or to a teacher, and spend time with that teacher. Spend at least 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, because this is how we did it. I'm following my teacher for 22 years now. The same teacher. I haven't changed my teacher, and I can tell you that every day I find something new. Every day I find something new.
Sure.
So this is an advice, a sincere advice, and I think that as my professor say, my teacher says, you have to hold one needle in this hand, and you have to hold a herb in this another hand. Then you have the medicine, and then you walk with it. The walk is your Neigong, your nutrition, So all those things have to be together. So medicine is not just about one technique,
yes,
one acupuncture. You have to nurture so many things. So medicine is something that you have to be devoted, and you have to spend time in studying so many aspects of it.
Yeah, that's a really good message. It reminds me of something I was listening to yesterday, and it was a discussion over Chinese medicine and how there are differences between, say, Southeast Asia in general and China as a mainland. But there are definitely what they're noticing now in 2023 is you have obviously people out in the country practicing folk medicine, kind of not really allowed, but they do it. You then have the hospitals, which are very regulated, and you have to be a doctor. And then you have these kind of smaller private in-between places. And sometimes in those places you find the master,
absolutely,
he or she does Neigong, Taiji. Yes. They do practice herbalism. They probably have a love of tea. They're great at acupuncture, and they probably do tuina, cupping, gua sha.
Yeah.
You know, and they live the medicine rather than show up to the hospital, work for the week, and then go home at the weekend and let go. These people are every day reading, self-cultivating, and these clinics you find are jammed. They are packed.
Yes.
I've even been to a few where people have been sleeping on the streets at 6 a.m.
Yes.
waiting for them to open. I'm sure you've experienced this, right?
Absolutely.
And I think I would love to see that in Europe. I'd love to see that kind of approach in Ireland. Whether it'll ever happen,
yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe it will definitely happen in Portugal.
Yes.
Like Portugal is very advanced in its mindset, but
yes.
it's just getting people to walk forward and step forward through the door. And how you do that is through results. So I recommend definitely you check out Salustino. You can check out his website, salustinowong.com. Is there any other? I know you're on
Jing Fang Classics.
The Jing Fang Classics is probably the better resource.
Yes.
And it's in English, Espanol. No hable español. I have a little bit of English. I have a funny joke to tell you about that. I got arrested in Spain once for bringing too many.
Really?
Cigarettes. It was an accident, bringing too many cigarettes across the border for friends. But long time ago, they let me go. They realized I was a fool. But yeah, I'd love to come to Portugal and visit you here. Do you know when you're going to come back to Ireland at some point?
Soon. I will go back soon. Yes.
Yeah,
I will let you know. Yes,
let me know. You'll be more than welcome to come to my humble abode, and you can bounce me around the place with your fajin. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks to Salustino. Very blessed.
Thank you a lot.
Amazing person. He's a living library. Check him out. Reach out to him. He's on Facebook, Instagram, and his website. And hope to see you soon. Thank you for joining.